do we need to trust technology? And this, I think, in your book, Liars and Outliers, you talk about trust, security, and society. So for us to make things easy, to accept technologies is an essential part of our societies. Like, do we need the trust? Do we need to build the trust to these technologies? And if yes, how to build this trust?
So I like that we're doing a tour of my most recent book. So I appreciate that. So this book is Liars and Outliers, and I discuss trust and how it works. And the answer is, of course, there is nothing in our life that we use that we don't trust. Right now, you are trusting the train. You are trusting the conductor, the signals, the electronics, the engine, the people around you. I mean, you think the amount of trust that you are exhibiting right now where you are, it's kind of incredible. And the fact that you don't even think about it is even more incredible. It sort of shows how well we've built these trust structures. But yes, right, I have to trust Apple, right? We have to trust Zoom. I'm using a Microsoft computer. I'm trusting them, right? We're trusting so many things, and any technology is based on trust. Whether it's, an ATM machine, an AI system. Now, the question you ask is, how do you build trust? That's actually a very complicated question. I did spend a book on it because there's no easy answer. But to the extent we don't trust the technologies, we're not going to accept them. We're going to be suspicious of them. To the extent we do trust them, we'll use them as easily as you getting on that train and just sitting down and opening up your computer.
Exactly. I just want to give you an example of how trust is really valuable. Like, for instance, in countries like the Scandinavian countries, and now I live in Finland, where where trust is really high, trust between people, trust of society towards the government, trust of the government towards society. I think you can feel it in your everyday life, but in countries like Afghanistan, or countries like in most of the African countries, or Syria, or these countries in war, or countries which are not very much developed, like for instance Iran, there is no trust between the government and societies, and trust between people. So the concept of trust disappears, and once it disappears, that we see many nations that are collapsing. So just like that.
Yeah, a lot has been written about high trust societies and low trust societies and the difference. I mean, some of it's obvious. There's a high trust society. I can go out on the street, go to a store, enter into a business agreement, right? Engage in social interactions without fear or worry, because the system handles a lot of that for me. If you're in a low trust society, all of that is harder. Exactly. And there is this sense of danger that you're constantly having to deal with, because the government isn't handling the trust infrastructure. So I think that is really important, and that's bigger than tech, but the tech plays a part of it. I mean, if you are using an iPhone versus a Google phone, you're trusting the infrastructure, and the more you do, the more you're willing to use it without thinking. The less you do, the more you start saying, hey, should I be doing this? Should I be engaging in this particular activity? And that'll be true with AI systems. That'll be true with robots. And it's going to be interesting to watch as trust becomes more embedded in technological systems than human systems. Right? Traditionally, trust is in human systems. Now, increasingly, trust is in technological systems. And there's a difference, when most people don't think about that difference, which is interesting in itself.
So this Nobel revelations tell us a lot about trust, how we trust the government, but then the government betrays us. And do you think how to go? We use these apps, we trust the governments, but then it's the other way around. It's always a bit different. So Facebook, Amazon, or these giant tech companies, they collect data, and they use data sometimes, or like most of the times, against us. as users. So do you think, I don't know how to trust this, how to trust a untrusty.
So you're asking, so maybe you don't, right? I mean, you're asking two things, right? One is, do we trust these companies? The second is, are they trustworthy? I mean, should we trust these companies? So we might trust something or somebody that is untrustworthy, right? We might not trust someone who is trustworthy. And there it gets into social signaling. What are the mechanisms for companies like Facebook to prove they are trustworthy? In a sense, they're inherently not. I mean, their business model is to spy on us, to use that information to sell us things. And that's the way Facebook works. That's the way Google works. Right? It's inherently a surveillance-based business model in attempts to manipulate us. That doesn't sound trustworthy to me.